The rich man's meat. Animals only the wealthy can afford, but you could supply. Why sell common products when you could sell similar products at 10x the price? Let's get into it. Luxury meats make Wall Street steak look cheap. One leg of Spanish ham has sold for over $15,000. A single Wagyu ribeye can cost $240 a plate. These aren't animals you'll find in any old farm. They're livestock specifically raised for the rich. And today, we're breaking down 7 of them, with the numbers that prove why they're worth it. Here's one you won't believe. Pigeons. Most people call them pests, but raised as squab, each bird sells for $25 to $30 in fine dining. That's more per pound than prime ribeye. And farmers don't even have to hatch them. The parents raise their own chicks. And squab is only the starting point. The animals higher on this list make that look cheap. By the end of this list, you'll see how one leg of pork can be worth more than your car. Number 7. Heritage geese. Forget the turkey. In Europe, goose is the real holiday status bird. Wealthy families will pay $150 to $200 for a single dressed goose at Christmas. In fact, some people consider the turkey the poor man's bird in Europe. And if foie gras is legal in your market, the liver alone can sell for $40 to $80 per pound, more than filet mignon. Do the math. A flock of just 20 geese can bring $3,000 to $4,000 in 1 month. That's seasonal cash flow most small farms never think about. And it's locked in months in advance. One chef pre-ordered my entire flock in September just to guarantee his December menus. Here's the pattern break. Goose isn't about volume. One goose is worth the same as 5 turkeys at the grocery store. You don't need hundreds of birds. You need the right customers. But here's the catch. Foie gras is controversial and heavily regulated. Some states have banned it outright. That scarcity only drives demand higher in places it's still allowed, but you have to know your laws before you start. Goose is proof. Luxury meats aren't about filling barns. They're about finding niches where tradition, scarcity, and status collide. Goose shows how scarcity turns poultry into a holiday luxury. While goose beat turkey, these cows take it to another level. The difference between a $25 steak and a $200 one, all from the same animal. Number 6. Wagyu and Kobe style. Cattle Wagyu is where beef turns into luxury branding. A ribeye that would sell for $25 from a standard steer pushes over $100 a pound when it's Wagyu. On the plate, that's a $200 steak, and people line up for it. The gross margins are just as extreme. A direct retail Angus might bring $2,000. A properly finished Wagyu steer, $15,000 to $20,000. Same species, 10 times the return. One Saudi royal once shipped an entire herd of Wagyu halfway across the world just to serve steaks at a wedding. That's the level of money in this space. But what buyers are really paying for is pedigree and marbling. In Japan, Wagyu bloodlines are tracked like thoroughbreds. The top bulls have sold semen straws for 6 figures. That's the level of status behind every steak. In 2019, a single Wagyu cow sold for over $400,000 in Japan. Proof that people aren't buying beef, they're buying bloodlines. Of course, the reality is slower growth, higher feed costs, and a much narrower buyer pool. If you can't access a market that understands marbling scores, you'll never see those premiums. And no, Kobe isn't a breed. It's a brand locked to a region. But American Wagyu Angus crosses still hit the marbling marks that fine dining chefs will pay luxury money for. So while most farmers can't compete with 6-figure breeding, there's plenty of marbling and other ways to increase the value of beef, but Wagyu isn't the only red meat commanding 5 figures. The next bird outgrosses beef on a fraction of the land. Number 5. Game birds. Quail, pheasant, partridge. Some of the smallest poultry is a huge market. Chefs don't care how much pasture you've got, they care about plating, and that's where game birds dominate. A single pheasant moves for $25 to $30, quail eggs for $5 a dozen, and dressed quail for $8 to $10 each. These aren't bulk sales at a Saturday farmer's market. They're menu items at restaurants where the bill never comes under $200. For the grower, the numbers only work if the supply is surgical. Restaurants build their menus around these birds. Miss a delivery, and you're gone. That's why the farms that make it here don't raise birds seasonally. They hatch in 2-week cycles and deliver year-round, keeping chefs stocked exactly when they need it. The opportunity is real. 200 quail, cycled properly, can gross over $10K a year. But that's the ceiling only if you've got locked-in buyers. Farmers markets won't move 20 cases of quail eggs. White tablecloth kitchens will. This isn't volume farming, it's precision farming for the high-end market. Number 4. Squab. Pigeons. Squab is the kind of dish that never shows up on grocery shelves, but you'll see it on Michelin-starred menus at $25 to $30 per bird. The economics are brutally simple. A breeding pair reliably turns out 12 to 15 squabs a year, worth $300 to $450 in gross sales. Multiply that across 20 pairs, and you're sitting on $6,000 to $9,000 annually from an operation that barely needs human input. The parents raise their own young. This isn't novelty food, it's heritage cuisine. In France, squab is a symbol of refinement. In China, it's a prosperity dish served at weddings. Demand isn't driven by volume markets. It's driven by chefs who need consistency and diners willing to pay for exclusivity. I've watched squab service in a banquet hall sell out before the second seating, with each plate clearing more than a ribeye steak. The catch is compliance. Processing rules vary, and labeling laws around pigeons can be restrictive. Without the right setup, you're out before you start. That's why squab sits in a rare lane. Tiny footprint, high cultural demand, and the kind of margins most small farms never see. And if pigeons surprised you, the next animals sell for $30 a pound. And the one at the top of this list can hit $1,000 a leg. In Shanghai weddings, squab is plated for prosperity, and it's one of the first dishes to vanish off the table. Number 3. Emu and ostrich. Ostrich and emu sit in a different league of livestock economics. Ostrich steaks move at $30 to $35 a pound, emu around $25, and both deliver stacked revenue beyond meat. Oil, leather, and feathers add secondary income streams that can push the gross value of a single bird higher than many finished beef sides. The visuals are built in. One ostrich egg equals 24 chicken eggs, and novelty alone lets it sell for $30 to $50. I've seen farms turn that into an experience, cracking an ostrich egg for guests, charging per omelet plate, and the revenue from a single event covered feed for the week. But profitability here isn't just about birds, it's about markets. Europe drives much of the demand, especially for lean red meats. In the US, ostrich and emu meat falls under USDA mandatory inspection, same as beef or poultry. You can't process in a backyard setup. Birds must be slaughtered and labeled at USDA-approved facilities, and those are few and far between. APHS also regulates import, transport, and disease protocols, which means compliance is non-negotiable. Farmers who ignore that get shut down fast. This is why these birds aren't a casual add-on. They demand tall fencing, specialized handling, and a processor willing to work with exotics. It's not beginner-friendly. But if you've got the infrastructure and the market, ostrich and emu take you out of hobby farming and into the global trade of high-value exotics, where a single bird represents not just a steak, but a portfolio of products. And here's the barrier. In the US, fewer than 10 USDA plants are certified to process retites. That bottleneck means even if you raise the birds, your path to market is narrow, and that scarcity keeps the price premium high. Number 2. Bison. Elk and deer. Bison isn't beef. It's a status meat. Walk into a high-end steakhouse in Denver or Chicago, and a bison ribeye runs $45 to $60 a pound equivalent. Ground sells for $12 to $15 retail, double the price of commodity beef, because diners see it as leaner, rarer, and more authentic to American heritage. Elk and farmed venison play in the same lane. Cuts move through specialty butchers and white tablecloth restaurants where scarcity drives the ticket. The luxury here isn't volume, it's exclusivity. Most states have only a handful of bison or elk producers, and customers brag about sourcing boxes direct from ranches. We opened 25 CSA beef shares and the bison boxes waitlisted in 48 hours. That speed isn't because it's cheaper. It's because buyers know the supply is thin and they want in before it's gone. Pre-selling herds months in advance is common, giving ranches cash flow before animals even finish. And that scarcity is reinforced by regulation. To cross state lines, meat has to go through a USDA-inspected plant, and only a fraction are equipped for exotics. That bottleneck keeps supply limited and prices high. Add in liability insurance and specialized transport, and you've got a product that simply can't flood the market. Bison, elk, and venison stay luxury not because they're hard to raise, but because access is deliberately scarce, processing capacity is thin, and cultural perception elevates them above beef. Customers aren't just buying red meat. They're buying the story of eating something rare. Number 1. Iberian and Mangalitsa pigs. Jamón ibérico isn't sold like pork. It's sold like art. In Spain, entire legs are auctioned for 5 figures. A single carving station in Madrid can command more than a champagne bar, with thin slices plated at $80 an ounce. These hams are aged for years, cellared like vintage wine, and unveiled at weddings and boardrooms as a symbol of wealth. Some legs are aged longer than vintage whiskey, and priced to match. In Japan, Wagyu is measured by marbling scores. In Spain, Jamón ibérico is graded by how many acorns the pigs eat per day. Entire luxury economies form around feeding protocols, because wealthy buyers want proof their food is rarer than yours. On the other side of Europe, the Mangalitsa carries the same mystique. Nicknamed the Kobe beef of pork, it's not about lean cuts, it's about fat. The lardo sells for $15 to $20 a pound, and the chops move at $30 to $40. Hold up a grocery store pork chop next to a Mangalitsa ribeye, and they don't even look like the same species. One pale and dry, the other striped with marbling like Wagyu. A single specialty pig, broken down and marketed correctly, can clear $4,000 to $5,000 in retail value. But it's not quick money. True Iberians are finished on acorns and cured for 2, 3, sometimes 4 years before they hit the table. You need deep pockets or smart partnerships to survive that kind of delay. That's why many small farms team up with established charcuterie houses. They already have the curing rooms and the clientele who can afford $1,000 legs. This is pork reinvented as luxury. Not barnyard food, but a status symbol on par with Wagyu beef. And in the right market, one leg of ham can be worth more than a used car. From $150 holiday geese to hams worth more than a car, luxury meats prove that small farms don't just sell food, they can become premium brands. Luxury meat isn't about feeding the world, it's about feeding egos. From $15,000 hams to $200 steaks, the rich don't just want dinner, they want proof they can afford what no one else can. Which one shocked you the most? The pigeons raising $30 a bird, the ostrich eggs bigger than your head, or that $1,000 ham? Drop it in the comments. I read everyone. And if you want more no-fluff farm math that actually pays the bills, hit subscribe now. We've got more breakdowns coming that'll show you how farmers and homesteaders are finding profit where nobody else is looking.